Are you a virtual assistant posting on Facebook groups, checking any single job posting platform and still not getting the position or job or the client that you're looking for? I have some tips for you based on my experience at recruiting virtual assistants. If you are struggling getting hired as a VA, you might want to rethink your strategy. You might want to evaluate the way that you're presenting yourself. Good news is I have a bunch of tips that are not going to cost you any money and that you can implement in no time. So let's start with this. Recruiters are busy. And I'm not talking just about the professional recruiters that are doing that for a living. I am also talking about small business owners trying to recruit help. I hire a lot for my own business, and I also offer that type of service for some of my clients. So I can for sure tell you that every time you apply, you have a ton, and I mean it, a ton of competition. I recently posted an ad for a client and I got over 150 resumes. So obviously you need to be able to stand out in a positive way. As I mentioned, I received 150 applications, and I also received an email from someone who was inquiring about the company that was hiring in order to decide if they would like to apply or not. And don't get me wrong, I totally respect their caution, and I also know they have the right to know who's the hiring company. However, we are talking here about increasing your chances to get that job, that client. And unfortunately, I don't believe that the recruiter will give priority to your email. And you might lose the opportunity to apply altogether. So my recommendation is that you apply anyways. And if you get selected and invited to an interview, get ready because you can ask all these questions about the company. Now for the next tip, I need to mention that I was, in this particular case, searching for an international team member, an international virtual assistant. And when I invite someone to an interview, of course, I include the day, the time zone, right? For example, Monday, October 28th, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. However, some candidates email me back asking how they should calculate the time difference for the interview. So here's the thing. If you are a virtual assistant applying for a job in a different country, you should be able to Google the time zone and make the conversion. So I absolutely encourage you to do your due diligence, to do your research, to come up with answers on your own. Because if you contact the recruiter to ask about that, the recruiter might question your ability to solve simple issues, challenges, and think about it. That might be the type of tasks that he's thinking about delegating the virtual assistant. So try to be resourceful and independent. So my next tip to help you land your next job, position, gig, whatever you're looking for, is to be really honest and transparent. And I know that it's kind of obvious, but I have an instance where, I have a candidate that was pretty strong and I was asking for professional references. And that candidate sent me the name of a manager at another company. And it's funny because that manager actually was someone that applied for the same position. And in their resume, there was no manager position ever. I would have been totally okay with collecting a professional reference from a colleague. But no matter how great of a candidate you are in paper, if I cannot trust that you are transparent, I'm not going to be able to trust you with anything in my company. In a previous tip, I mentioned that recruiters are busy. So if you would like to increase your chances at getting hired, then my recommendation is that you eliminate any type of friction, that you make things easier for the recruiter, and that you go the extra mile and you just practice proactiveness. For example, I have people share with me a Google Drive where they include there so many different things that I can use in order to evaluate them as candidates. Some of them don't just include the resume, but some type of portfolio that showcase their work. Some others include information about their, Wi-Fi speed and the capabilities of their computers, just to show me that they will be able to work with no issues. Some others even include some testimonials from previous clients. And that means that the recruiter has more tools in order to make a decision and consider you for the position. So the next tip is super, super key for me. Every time that I post an ad, I give instructions on how you're supposed to apply. And don't get me wrong, I'm not asking for like a ton of different things. It is a very, very simple process. But I include in there instructions, and I very clearly state that in order for you to be considered, you need to follow certain steps. I normally hire bookkeepers, I hire executive assistants, and I hire transaction coordinators. So these three types of positions require a very good eye for detail. The reality is that if you cannot follow simple instructions given in a very short ad in a Facebook group, how can I trust that you can follow more complex instructions in the real job? I put these instructions in there for a reason, and the reason is that I am evaluating the candidates from the very beginning. If you're finding value in these tips so far, please let me know by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. That motivates me to continue creating this type of content. Another thing is that I always ask for candidates to create a very short, 1 minute long introductory video. My goal here is to understand better their, personalities and communication style. Even though I love to learn about you and your hobbies and what you do for fun during the weekends, that's probably not going to help me understand how well you could potentially be for the position that I'm searching for. So if you encounter an ad where the recruiter is asking you for that, take advantage of it. Make sure that you utilize that opportunity to really showcase your skills and explain what makes you a great fit for that particular role. So the next thing that I want you to avoid is generic or mass applications. So sometimes I receive emails saying application for any open positions. And although I understand what's your intention behind it, I understand your flexibility. If you do that, you're pretty much putting the recruiter to work for you. Just go ahead and customize your email, your resume for that particular application. And you can always include that in your cover letter or email, saying that you're actually open to be considered to other positions if they're open. It's a slightly different approach. The message is kind of the same, but you are more proactive, more professional, and it shows that you put more care in the process. I promise you that it's worth the effort. Another recommendation I have for you is to totally avoid scripted answers, especially if they are not true or they are not sincere. One time I asked someone why they applied for the role, and the reason they give me is that they feel they were in alignment with my company values. When I asked what value in particular, this person couldn't answer. And I knew this person wouldn't be able to answer because my company values weren't listed anywhere. Please don't put yourself in these tricky situations. So if you don't know the name of the company or their values, don't pretend you do. So the next tip is about applying when you do not have the experience required for the position. And I still encourage you to apply, even if you don't have like all the skills that are listed for the perfect candidate. However, I want you to be very smart about it. And instead of just sending the application, I want you to focus on your transferable skills and how they relate to the position. And obviously, I need to talk about communication, because if you are a virtual assistant, you are going to work remotely. You absolutely need to be great at communicating. So if you send emails full of typos and you answer, days later when they ask you for something or when they invite you to an interview, that doesn't show that you are really good at managing communications. So make sure you review your emails before sending them. If you are applying for a position, make sure you pay attention to your inbox and make sure you check your spam folder. Sometimes emails are landing in there and you could potentially lose an opportunity just because you didn't see the email coming. I hope you find this helpful. Again, if you do, please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.